بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه من والاه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. This is productivemuslim.com with the weekly Friday Nasiha, episode number 4. Today we'll talk about prioritizing. How can you prioritize your work? I think last week over Facebook I mentioned a couple of quotes which I think is relevant to this topic. The first one is from Imam Hassan al-Basri when he said, "I have lived in times when many people were more careful about how they spent their lifetime than how they spent their money." I want you to just think about that. We're very careful where we spend our money. We're very careful of, budgeting and saving and, doing cash flows and making sure that we can meet our financial demands. But have we ever looked at time the same way? Were we ever that careful with our time? It's funny sometimes when people say they've got too much time or they don't know what to do with their time or they feel bored and there's just nothing to do. I think to myself, subhanallah, have we ever thought about this time that it's going to be will not come back to us? That this time we waste we'll never be able to gain again? So just realizing the value of time is the first step to being able to prioritize efficiently. If you don't know the value of time, then you'll just do whatever comes on your way. But if you know the value of time, you'll be able to prioritize much better. The second couple of quotes, they sort of come together. The first quote I think is from Umar al-Khattab. He said, "Never leave things for tomorrow which you can do today." But if you're Mark Twain, you would say, "Never leave things for tomorrow which you can do after tomorrow." And subhanAllah, both have a point. There's certain things which you can do today which we shouldn't leave for tomorrow. And there's certain things which we do today which really we don't need to do even 3-4 days later. How many times we've picked up a task to do, but it's really something we could do a week later, but for some reason, because it's easy, because we don't want to get down to the work we have to do, we do the other task. So it's very important that we should make sure that the tasks we do are tasks that are actually needed today and today only, and if we miss today, then we'll regret. So think about the task when you prioritize yourself. Is it something that has to be done today, or can I leave for tomorrow? Or is it something that has to be done for tomorrow which I should not do today? So these are sort of ideas which I want you to keep in mind before we go into talk about prioritizing. So let's talk about practical steps. I always give you practical tips so that you can take these nasiha advice and be able to apply them immediately. If you want to prioritize, the first thing you need to do is build a master task list. What this is, it could be a spreadsheet, it could be a piece of paper, it could be anything where you literally write down everything that you have to do, broken down into specific actions or specific tasks that you have to do. It's, for example, you can have, and also if you want to make it even more manageable, to break these tasks into and group them into projects. So for example, I have the Productive Muslim master task list. So this would be everything that's related to productivemuslim.com which I want to put together. I could have one for work, I could have one for family, and this really needs to appear on one page or one sheet or one spreadsheet or something which you can have a look and have an idea of what you need to do. The next thing you need is a daily taskinator, and you can find this in productivemuslim.com/the-taskinator. You can download a free copy of the daily taskinator so you can be able to plug items from the master task list into your daily taskinator, which is basically a simple one-page sheet to help you block time for specific tasks at specific times. And the third thing you need is ruthless discipline, and I mean ruthless discipline. You really have to hold yourself to account to make sure that you achieve the task you set to do that day. So the way this works is simple. Any task that comes in your way, you put in the master task list. And every morning or every night, the night before, whenever you plan for the next day, you make sure that you have the master task list in front of you, and then you fill up the daily taskinator and start cherry pick the tasks that you will do the next day. And once you do that, make sure you choose a combination of easy to do tasks and heavyweight tasks and things which come in between. Because if you do all the easy tasks in one day, then by the time, then one day you'll have to do all the hard tasks. So make sure you have a mix of, the simple things you can do, complicated things, and things in between, so that basically you have, by the end of the day, you feel the sense of achievement and sense that you've actually done what you had to do. And finally, the ruthless discipline. Make sure you're ruthless when it comes to disciplining yourself, and unless you really, really have to give up this task for something else, then you give up. The cherry picking exercise I mentioned before is where you prioritize. You say, okay, what really needs to be done today? And then you cherry pick the tasks that you have to do. Now, there's one step further that you need to take as a productive Muslim, and that is to always remember your priority number one. That is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Remember the purpose of our life. Remember why we're here. So I always say to people that that talk to, that really we need to remember this priority number one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger always comes first. So when you plan your day, when you prioritize your day, make sure you have Allah and His Messenger as number one. Make sure the first thing you put on your task list is the salah times, so that you know you block that time for salah and nothing else comes in between. When you have a choice between reading Quran, reciting Quran, doing some other task, Quran comes number one. When you have a choice between spending some time remembering Allah and doing some general other task or emailing, remembering Allah comes number one. So really prioritize think of number one priority always, and then everything else comes second place or third place. So that's all I want to tell you today about prioritizing. The first thing you got to do is remember the value of time. The second thing you have to do is remember to prioritize tasks according whether they need to be done today or tomorrow or even after tomorrow. And then make sure you build a master task list and cherry pick them from the master task list every day and stick it in your daily taskinator. And finally, make sure you always remember the priority number one, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This is Productive Muslim with the weekly Friday Nasiha. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and see you next week inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.